everyone. We are now here for the town hall meeting with Roar. Yay! So, we are joined today by I Am Steven Veritas. This is Njoror, the producer.
Producer, designer, fire extinguisher.
Yes. The man who knows all the things. And somewhere in the chat is CM Idun, who will be joining us. I don't know if she's in yet.
She may be in or may not quite yet.
Well, either way, we are going to get started. So, I'm going to go ahead and start with the announcements. So, for those of you who had the Error 02 issue, it should be resolved at this time. If you're still having issues, do not be afraid to call our Warp Portal support team. We also have our Black Friday sales have ended, but, keep an eye out for the Christmas celebrations. And just so you know, the November Lucky Boxes are on sale until December 5th. So you have 4 days.
Until they're gone. Go until next November.
All right. So going on to events. Hello, Oh, gosh. I'm going to mess up this name, too. Petorikifini. I'm sorry. Your name is forever going to be said with an Italian accent in my head. Hello. Bloop. All right. So, for the events going on right now, we have Tuesday Trickery on Hide and Seek on Tuesdays. And then we have RB, who's doing RB's Amazing Saturday Seeker. That is every Saturday at 18:30, I believe. Yes. We also, so the Midgardian Cookbook has ended, and the winners will be announced soon. I'm waiting for everyone to put in their favorites, but it looks like everyone's going to be winning something. Yay! Next week, and I think you wanted to go ahead and talk about the Yule Festival?
Next week our Yule Festival stuff will be going into the game. For those of you that have played for a couple of years, we had two different versions of it. We had one that was last year that had wrapping paper you collected, and you visited a special snowy area with a bunch of pourings. And then we also had an older version that had Stormy Night and Santa Claus and his elves, which were Noels. Both versions are going to go in, so it's just going to be this giant Yule thing that goes in, plus with titles and special Caffer Shop boxes and mounts and stuff like that.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, that being said, Winter Nights will be going strong until the 19th, I believe. And so I noticed that RB has also just started this RO2's Corrupt a Wish game.
Yeah, so how it works, it's on the RO2 community chat forum, and you submit your wish, and then the next person has to grant your wish, but then put a negative spin to it. And then you submit your wish, and so it keeps going that way, so you can keep corrupting people's wishes and then having your own wish. I think I just submitted, I've participated a couple times already, and I think I just replied earlier before the stream.
I just know that now I have a need to spawn in tons of pourings. I'm just saying. All right, so we're at the part that you've all been waiting for. So this is a town hall meeting, so that means in the last 2 weeks, we've been collecting questions from our audience. And this is the day when all of those questions get answered. Also known as Jackass Genie. Yes. Thank you, Emily, for...
Corrupt a Wish.
Corrupt a Wish. So, I will be reading off the questions, and then Njoror here will be answering them. And I will say, this time around, you guys have some very detailed questions. So... I wasn't even able to put as many cute creatures all over the cards. But I guess we should get started. So, where is it? There it is. Our first question is from Eden.
Oh.
What? Well,
for Eden, yeah.
She's not here to answer it.
Yeah. I submitted these questions to kick off the town hall of asking Eden, what makes you look up to Njoror so much? How do you strive to be as cool as Njoror? And how do you pronounce your name? I think she responded to us via GIF in the thread. So
she did, but I had to include this. She refused to answer stupid questions and is raging according to the GIF on the last question.
Because I think we keep pronouncing her name different ways each time.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Eden, but I keep calling her Idun.
Yeah.
Eden.
I have to think of like the Garden of Eden. Yeah.
When is EXP? Okay, we will be taking questions at the end of the session. So hang on there. We will get right back to you. So the next real question is from Quan. Yes. Why does Ignatius Quiver and ML30 Blue Gear have better stats than Edga's Quiver and ML35 Purple Gear?
So I wrote all kind of notes down for all these questions. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. For this one, for a lot of questions about like previous design and stuff, we weren't part of the design team for that. So a lot of what I'm going to say is probably me guessing at why. I do remember having conversations with them when there was inconsistencies like this, that they said they would focus on the complete set. So in this case, the complete Ranger set, they would think about the stats dispersing, and they didn't necessarily think about this individual quiver versus another quiver, and why is this one's better quality but has less stats than the one before it. That's what I think that they were going for. Having said that, we can always go back and look and see if we need to change that. But in this particular case, it's not going to be something like at the top of the list that we're going to have to tackle. Of course, if you play the game, you're probably aware of various issues that we should be tackling. And if you stick around for the town hall, you'll hear a lot of them in the questions. So it can definitely be looked at. But yeah, that's my guess at why they were different values. They were balancing the sets against other sets, but not necessarily against other class sets of the same tier, but not necessarily against other sets.
And Eppley brought up Ignatius didn't have rune slots. Edga was rune slots before and offhand rune slot removal.
Yeah.
So yes, Eppley, for those who don't know, is one of our awesome VCRs, and she can answer a lot of questions as well. She's been playing for a long time. All right, next question. It's from Wickeden. With recent changes, there is a chance to balance soon enemies for DW, FPAO, and especially Wonderland Island. Wisdom is useless status for all classes. What are planning to improve it in some way and become attractive? There will be at some point runes of wisdom and Vite and runes for +10 to +80.
So for the first question about balance, enemies, all that kind of stuff, we're working on that. That should be in early 2017, aiming for Q1 2017, addressing master level zones, the difficulty with the enemies, trying to cater or change those areas to be more like the level 1 through 50 experience, move away from group only, add some other stuff to it. Regarding stats, that'll be something that we just continue to tackle as we go through the list, and we have a list of sort of these are the issues and this is how critical they are and how long they'll take to tackle and all these sorts of things. We're going through them as we do that. So giving more reason for people to use wisdom is important. So it's, yeah, it'll be happening by the first half of next year, but with the master level zones being addressed, it'll probably be the first 3 months or so. We'll be focusing on that.
Cool. A lot of stuff going on. All right, next question, also from Wickeden.
I think I need to speak up.
Oh. Here, wait, let's see if we move this.
Oh.
Nope.
I don't know.
I'm trying to see if I can move. This is my microphone. Here, I'll put it more in the middle, maybe, closer.
Let us know if this works for you guys.
All right, next question is from Wickeden. The pet system is time-consuming. It's fine, but some enemies are impossible to bring to the maximum level 4 bosses. Also, if there will be a new pet system in the future, the maximum level will increase also from 4 to 5.
The first one about it being difficult to reach level 4, yeah, we can look at it. I know that it's been mentioned a couple times. It's not going to be a big priority thing. Like, we're not going to tackle that before leveling fixes or PvP updates or balancing or stuff like that. And it's going to be dependent on how complicated that system is to change, because some stuff that seems rather simple to the player, we've noticed as a rather MacGyvered set of systems on the back end that we're trying to fix. So it depends on that, and it depends on when we're able to tackle it. But yeah, I think pets are an important hobby, pastime, something that players are able to do when they're not doing PvP or doing dungeons with their friends or crafting. DNA and cards and things like that are filling those slots. So we'll look at that. Adding new ones in and extending the level. When we do add new ones in, we'll probably be looking at the system and seeing what we can do to improve it and if we need to expand it. New pets would probably we'd be targeting existing monsters that don't currently have a pet before anything new. Yeah.
The important thing is, when do we get our vanity pets? Hello, looks like Idun is joining us now, so we can mess up her name constantly. And I haven't counted the tentacles on this thing yet. 2, 4. This has 8. No, just joining us. We're answering some really tough questions this time around. And I decided to wear this hat. I don't know whose it belongs to. It just appeared in our room.
I think it's Astra's.
Is it Astra's?
The new RO1C.
Okay, yeah, because I'm like, okay, I have to wear this because, Nora's here. Idun. So it's Idun.
Oh, it's Idun?
I think she's just
I can't tell if she's making fun of us now or not.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she's just going to give us the wrong answer forever now. All right, next question from Wicked again. And I would like to know about the event Winter Night, where it's come from for, and the special enemy of Delta Delta, because it's disturbing.
So Winter Nights was a... sorry, I got a notice on my phone. I got distracted. Winter Nights was something that we came up with, I think, in 2013 when we wanted to come out with holiday events each month for people to do. So there was something for them to do when Gravity was working on the game and coming out with other updates. And it was based on something we found about a Norse holiday that ran from October to November, sort of welcome in winter. And it involved, I think, the Norse gods coming to visit the Midgardians, and so that's why you see these creatures that you would otherwise see elsewhere be sort of possessed by certain Norse gods. If you do the quest line and you read the quest and don't just run through them. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Awesome. All right. Now this is from Weird. Weird asks, are there future plans to enable easy mode of all dungeons so that new players can complete their quest on their own at the appropriate level without needing to find help or peers? If so, when might we see this?
Easy mode, we haven't really considered. Like, you're thinking of like a solo mode for an MMO for dungeons. Not to say that that's something we couldn't do, but it's definitely not up there. In the same vein, we've been talking about bringing back the old level 50 raid dungeons in a new scaled mode that would add more stuff to it and give items that would be relevant to a master level 40 or whatever the cap would be when we do that. We're thinking of doing that in like middle next year, maybe early next year sometime, starting with Garden of Baphomet and trying to figure out that sort of thing. So give some PvE stuff for people to do before Niflheim. But in easy mode, I haven't discussed. So I don't know.
Well, I know that in the chat they did bring up that when you go to the dungeons, it has an easy mode button that never has lit up apparently, which is hilarious. Maybe there's a hidden thing.
It may have been something, I have no idea. I would just be guessing at what they were doing with that.
That's okay, I don't think any of us know. Alright, next. Now this is the tough question. What's your favorite winter tradition and or winter recipe?
What did I write down here? Oh, my wife and I have an ugly sweater party that we go to each year, and a group of us last year had ugly sweater suits. Which was a lot of fun. A recipe. I'm not a big cook, so I wrote down anything with alcohol in it that can also be considered festive.
Ah. So who here thinks that he should find a picture of this sweater thing?
There are photos, yeah.
And share it with the group.
I would have to. Well, it would have to be one of just me. I can't share photos of other people. Yeah.
But we need to find this picture. This seems like something that should be shared with everybody.
Well, I think I'm wearing it again this year, so it might in a couple weeks. So we'll see.
So you should do a stream in that outfit, is what we're hearing.
Oh boy. Actually, I think I wore it to the office last year.
Did you?
About it. Yeah.
Oh, why did I miss this? All right. Next one. Oh, and I guess I answered this too. So in my house, we do a thing called Thorsmas because we're all different religions and backgrounds. So we just decided to make up our own holiday, which essentially means cooking a bunch of food that has like a Viking theme, and then eating and drinking until you can't. And then anything with cinnamon apple pie things, all that works. All right, the next one. What's your favorite winter song, and will you sing it for us?
I wrote down, I don't have a favorite winter song.
I think that's convenient. I put down This Is Halloween by Marilyn Manson because I will totally sing that through all of December along with Sandy Claus.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And no, you don't want me singing that. Now this is for Njoror from Emily. How long is your beard in metric?
I wrote down, do you want it in Euro or UK standards?
Well, luckily Eppley has joined us, and she could probably answer. What do you want that in EU or UK standards?
I don't know. I got it trimmed like a week ago, so it's much shorter now than then.
You know, the worst part is I actually
less than a meter, we could say.
Less than. I hear pourings. Yes, I may have spawned in a ton of pourings. I'm just saying. I put my character in channel 1 for the end, so if people want to ask questions in game, they can. So she wants it in metric centimeters.
I have no idea.
So I had brought a little cloth measurer, and I forgot it on my desk. So if one of our lovely CMs, as we move on, can bring that in here real quick.
I got a lot of it chopped off recently, so I don't know.
No, you got to get it all nice and full, and then start braiding it, and then put things in it.
Then I will become a pirate. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's how you do it. Shave it off. Can we get a weight on it?
The only time I've had it shaved off in like almost 10 years was I was drunkenly trying to trim the sides with a buzzer, and my phone rang, and I turned and it just like caught it, and so I had to get rid of all of it.
Was that the day you came in clean shaven?
Yeah. Like a year ago or something like that.
So that's what happened.
A half ago. Yeah.
There's video evidence of Njoror in a holiday sweater singing Christmas songs on the Warp Portal YouTube channel. Awesome! See, Dragonlark is here to remind us of
well,
all
I think she's in those videos as well, if I remember them. I think they're like 2-3 years ago, so.
She is?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Dragonlark, you should bring in my tape measure sitting on my desk. All right, let's move on, because we have so much time. All right, Eppley, what events do you enjoy the most?
I wrote a couple. So I said, personally, I like the angeling and deviling event we did. And because I won, and we had to reshoot Zambi eating the habanero peppers because Oda forgot to plug in the microphone when she did it the first time. As far as recurring events go, Yule Festival, because I wrote a lot of it. There's also an event, and I said I can't remember if it's Winter Nights, Lunar Festival, Spring Festival, because it all kind of like some of that stuff merges in your head after a while. But someone wrote that El Shima was possessed by the Norse goddess Skadi, and so Skadi as El Shima sends the player to go like mess with some fisherman's fish or barrels or something like that in order to like get back at her ex. But I don't think the quest ever says anything about who her ex is. And if you look up in Norse mythology, Scotty's ex is actually the god of the sea, Njoror. So that's somebody wrote that in to mess with me. Beyond that, like as somebody that makes them, I just enjoy ones that players like that you don't think they're gonna like. Be like the Winter Knights Viking costume was just an idea because we needed like a cosmetic something to put in there, and I was like, let's do a Viking costume, and then it came out and people really liked it, so that was cool.
The Viking costume is awesome.
Yeah.
I do have to point that out. And for those who don't know, that link does go straight to the Ragnarok Lyrical Masterpiece Challenge. Do you woe when I woe?
2 years ago. This from 2 years ago? Almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
This is magical, is what that is. That's.
I remember filming that and people walking past the hallway giving us weird looks.
It was perfect. I think I wrote that quest without noticing Elshima is a male. Perfect. All right, next question. Because I'm getting so distracted by this glorious image. Oh, and I just answer anything that allows me to kill everything. All right, Redcliffe asks, why the only mobs in FP that gives decent EXP are just Edga and Merchant's Kindling? Kindling.
So I wrote your guess is as good as mine because that's sort of our answer for a lot of stuff that was designed by the team before us. But as I mentioned before, we're looking at kind of addressing all those master level zones, and not just master level zones, but after that, the whole leveling experience and everything, and seeing how we can fix that and fix the EXP rates and the monster difficulty and just the reason to go there and the rewards and stuff like that. So I couldn't tell you why it is the way it is now, but I can tell you that that will be addressed in early-ish 2017.
Awesome. All right, next question. Why can't we get normal, decent EXP from other mobs in FP? Because it can help more players to level up and level those who like to pray and can bother others to lure Edna, and besides, FP is the only place to grind.
Yeah, same answer. We're going to be targeting that and EXP and stuff like that to make it less grindy and group-oriented only.
Sweet. All right. Hank Young asks, a lot nerfing about some class happened, and I even heard there will be another CLS rune nerf. We just rebuilt back our characters recently, and there is another nerf coming soon. Do you consider the player in-game before you want to nerf everything, as VCR said?
Yes. There's no, enjoyment we get out of doing nerfs. And so even when we think about nerfs, we're not trying to hurt people. In the one that he's talking about, we had a patch where we did some balancing changes to priests and knights and I think hiding classes to address permanent stuns and then skills that sort of got out of control with stat creep and were leading to one-shots and just the server kind of leaning towards only playing a couple of classes versus other classes. The reason we did this is because the team before us didn't really think about stat creep and sort of what that could cause with PvP and with other stuff, and they were just kind of adding on at the end. And so we see that sort of thing with stuff like the PvP runes. So you mentioned the CLS runes. We're working on right now, which should be in December, a change to the PvP runes. It's not necessarily a nerf. You can say it's a nerf, but it's going to apply something like diminishing returns to it. Initially, when you start using runes, they're actually going to give you more than what you would get before, but it's not going to allow you to get 100% attack or 100% reduction. The PvP runes, for those of you that weren't around when we were Legend of the Second, were only able to be put into PvP sets that had CLS runes at the time. So it was sort of just focused on only these sets, and they sort of were designed and balanced around the idea that a player could only have up to this many in the full set when they go and do PvP. They got away with that after a couple of updates when honing came in and you're able to apply or get PvP stats on your gear with honing. And then I think a year ago, or so, a year ago, we added in the Kafra and the swag costumes and the purple rune holes. The purple rune holes are also an issue that we're looking into. There is a rumor that we're going to remove the rune holes. We're not going to do anything like that. But the purple rune holes were implemented because there was feedback given to Gravity that said that players want a PvP set, they want a PvE set. And so I think what their idea was they didn't have time to make both, or I don't know what the decisions were made over there, but they thought, we're going to come out with this one rune hole type, which is purple rune holes, and you're going to be able to put PvP runes in it, you're going to be able to put bind runes in it, you kind of decide. Their idea was that a player would then use removers and punchers to swap out runes back and forth depending on if they're PvEing, PvPing, what have you. And I mean, we told them before it even happened that's not going to be the case. People are not going to, keep using punchers and removers to do that. So that added another 5 or more than 5 possibilities for more PvP runes. And so what happened is this stat that was only supposed to be kept to a certain percentage with the old Knightage PvP sets kind of went out of hand, and so now you can get stuff that's way over 100%. So how the new formula is going to work is it's going to be sort of an arc. You're going to reach a point, and I think right now it's about 45% in either, where adding more runes isn't going to have as much impact as it did before. You're still going to go up, but it's not going to be as much, and you're never going to be able to reach 100%. So this should do 2 things. One is it should help out with PvP imbalance. People aren't going to be able to go over 100% in defense or attack. And the second one is it gives you a little bit more control over what you want to do with your other rune holes. Instead of completely stacking PvP attack or defense or what have you, you're going to be able to put other runes in there or what have you, or other homes or something like that. So that's the sort of approach we're going to take with that, and that sort of approach we'll probably be taking in other places. We're thinking that first update it's going to go in Monday. So if you go to our feedback forum, I think I actually posted the chart of what it looks like in response to somebody's post there. It's going to be at the top somewhere. I can't remember what it was, but I posted a couple responses in that feedback forum last week about it. But we'll show you what it is in the patch notes next week and what have you. And then on December 19th, we're thinking we're going to change it to a rating system so that you'll get just a flat rating. We're going to change it to a rating so it's like every other stat where you get a certain number of it, and then when you mouse over it'll tell you what percentage it is. But we'll let you know, and I think one of our VCRs already let you know kind of what the formula is we're dealing with right now. But the whole idea is that it's not going to be a linear flat nerf across the board for your PvP runes or your stats, but it is going to be arcing. You could still stack PvP attack on every possible place you want to do it, and you'll still have more than the next person that has one less than you, but it just won't be as more. It won't be just 3% stacked on 3%, up till whatever. So look out for that on the feedback forum. I posted the chart already, but then also in the patch notes on Monday.
Awesome. That's a detailed explanation. These questions are killer. All right. Next, he asks, Archie, do you have any update contents in-game soon, such as new levels, new maps? Every week, I'm hoping there will be a nice update, but what did WP update only about nerfing and more?
So we don't plan for any new levels until Niflheim, and we're sort of looking at Niflheim right now and what we have and what we don't have. And it seems like we have a lot of what we don't have and what we want to do with Niflheim. So that Niflheim won't be in Q1 of 2017. We still have a lot that we're going to need to flesh out that wasn't quite finished from the team before us. And so there's a lot still to do to get that up and running. Before that, though, we're thinking of, like I mentioned before, coming back with new versions of level 50 raids so that we have something for PvE for people to do. But also in Q1, we're targeting the PvP zones and coming out with updates for those. New stuff to get, and new reward boxes, fixes and balance changes for that sort of stuff. I think I go into detail in another question after this, so I'm not going to lay it on thick for this question, or else all the other questions are going to be like, oh, I mentioned before, whatever. So.
Ah. Yes, soon. Somewhat soon. Okay. I got yo back, bro asks. I believe you said that back in August you would concentrate on improving guilds. Any news regarding that? Making donation rate 100%, adding more skills. Just curious for the future.
So I am behind on my notes. Yeah, so we're still working on that. It's not necessarily right now a guild update, but we are actually working on a new guild skill right now that I think I can talk about later, but I'll talk about now. It's a guild skill that'll be involved with War of Imperium and siege weapon placement. We've seen for a long time that siege weapons are an issue with a lot of people, and so what this does is it's new books and new drops and a new skill. I think Urgent Recall gets moved over to the admin side. I forget what we're doing. Don't listen to me. It might change, but basically it's 5 tiers in order to place siege weaponry for your guild. In these world maps, you'll need to unlock each tier. Starts with 20, goes 40, 60, 80, and then at the maximum you can drop 100 siege. Along with that, we're looking into maybe a self-destruct for siege that aren't completed after a certain amount of time, and giving players the ability to destroy siege weaponry so that they can better, strategize about where they want to place their siege, if they have to move back because, the attack is happening and that kind of stuff. It is very early. We're testing it right now and trying to see what's going on and what have you, but that's like the first guild skill that'll come out. Beyond that, we're going to be looking at housing and the reward with housing in the mine, which I think I answered in another question that comes up after this. And then just other guild updates and stuff can probably trickle in. We'll see if it gets targeted in a big guild update, like with housing or what have you, or if it's something we can just like roll out when we test it and it's ready and it's good and it survives on its own.
All right. Awesome. Next. Can you give at least a little help to the adjusting players to the nerf, like putting an NPC with a rune exchange exclusively for war and K9 players at least 1 week, so we can adjust more and we'll have no more issues anymore?
Not in this case. In the past, we've done certain compensation for certain things. The most recent example I can think of is when we changed the doubloon cost of the booty thief title during the pirate thing. That's when it cost like 300 doubloons, and we I think dropped it down to like 100. And so anybody that had purchased it during the couple of weeks before we were able to change it, we sent them back like to 200 doubloons. In this case, it's not an easy cut and dry replacement. People probably stacked int runes and they want them replaced. And so if we replace them with strength runes, then people will write in and say like, I don't want a strength rune, I want a vit rune, or I want this, or can I have this costume instead? Because that has happened.
Yes.
So that's why this sort of thing we don't do compensation for. You go into the market, and if we and also that's sort of us messing with an in-game market and possibly taking something out of somebody else's hands. Not necessarily with this situation, but in other situations. And it also sets up a precedent that we don't like, where whenever we make any changes or additions or anything like that, people are going to be asking for some sort of compensation. People can already see when anything happens in the game, you'll see people in public chat asking for compensation. We do compensation when it makes sense. If we do compensation all the time, then we give away the game, and we're worse than a private server. So, not in this case. That's my answer.
Alright, next. Since you made a swag and other Kafir costumes tradable, can you make the Loki pieces, just the yellow one, to be tradable? No point in keeping them bound for any reason.
So, a big reason why we tackled the Kafir and swag stuff was because we got a lot of tickets in for that sort of thing, and when something is we get a lot of tickets in for, and our GMs are able to tell that becomes something that we sort of target to be updated sooner than rather later. The Loki pieces haven't really come on the radar. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't look at it or become tradable, but that's sort of the explanation of why those were and these aren't yet. We'd have to discuss the ramifications of making those tradable a little bit more. But if you want to make a post on the feedback forum, make a post on community chat. We're gonna be sort of interacting a bit more, or myself a bit more on those forums for that kind of feedback. So start a topic and people can talk about it and we can dive in and see.
Sweet. All right. We're at our half-hour mark. Still got some. Why are you so handsome, Njoror?
I wrote down here because the live stream camera isn't in HD.
Good answer. Very good answer. All right. Now we're getting some other long ones. So, Aman asks, are there any plans on making changes to WoW maps in the future, mainly adding new orbs to forts and removing Frontera Main Gate and the South Fort? With all the changes ongoing and in the near future, how some skills work and see chance rates, cards, Coliseum, etc., and also PvE, the WoW maps question is inevitable. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this subject and to know if any modifications to maps are on the horizon from Warp Portal's point of view.
Yes. As I mentioned before, we're working on that guild skill that will kind of rein in siege weaponry and make it more of a strategy on where to place it. We're also talking at this point about how we can reintroduce bases and their effectiveness. We know that before, when they were around, they gave certain like really key buffs, but they were almost most of the time, I don't know if that's it, acquired by the defending guild, because at least on the Frontera battlefield map, the two bases are above the main gate, and the defending guilds could easily swoop in and get those buffs before anyone else could. And so I think that was part of why they ended up removing them. Instead of redesigning them, they're like, we don't know how to do this, let's remove them for now, and it just never made it back in. We've talked about maybe finding ways that they are only applicable to attacking guilds and seeing what kind of balance offset that would cause for the defenders. We know right now that the defenders have the upper hand as well. We've known that for a while. Just look at how often and long they're able to hold it and just try and play and be a part of an attacking guild and see. Having said that, we still consider the defending guilds. We're not going to, throw them under the bus. You mentioned removing the main gate. So speaking of throwing under the bus, I'm going to throw the VCRs under the bus right now. We have a lot of VCRs. So we have almost 60 VCRs now because we kind of renewed our promotion of the program. And they come from all sorts of opinions and guilds and everything. And so right now they're actually debating amongst themselves that idea. Hasn't even reached us yet, and I can tell you that I don't know if I would ever remove the main gate. I would need a very good reason for it, and I think that maybe fixing something like that might be better, but it's just not something we've gotten our hands into. We're intending to, after our December updates roll out, to start rolling into PvP stuff. So it's good that they're having the conversation now. It's good that you're asking these things. It would be good if you put these on the forum if they're not already, because PvP will be going on after that. Main gate changes, blah blah blah. So another thing that we're working on, that we have an idea that we want to do in order to separate PvP from PvE in RO2, is take the Coliseum buff that's there that balances people and manipulate it so that we can apply it to PvP maps, but add an exception list for certain items, specifically PvP items or items that we would allow on a PvP map. The reason that we would do this is because if you're familiar with PvP or old PvP, right now people are probably stacking their Serenia gear because it just gives them the best stats and all that kind of stuff. We would like to be able to scale PvE separate from PvP and not have PvP infected by PvE scaling up. And so it still provides the opportunity for people to get PvP gear and outfit their PvP gear that way, but if they use their PvE gear in PvP, then we negate any kind of skills that aren't on this exception list for PvP. And then with that, we would introduce new PvP sets and stuff like that, and new rewards that you can use in PvP. Because we know that in between PvE updates, people still go, and our biggest days are when WoW's happening and what have you, because people still like to do PvP. So that's the idea. It's not concrete. It's still being thought out right now. So anything that I said right now might change. There's probably going to be additions to it. There definitely will be. There'll be new Coliseum reward boxes. There'll be new rewards. There'll be all sorts of stuff. So that's going to be sort of our focus after our December stuff rolls out, to start working on rolling out and hopefully by the end of Q1 2017 having it all or most of it out for you guys to check out. Cool.
Also, yes, someone asked me to spawn in a Pukui, so I put in some Pukui. Alright, so next question. Oh, it's another long one. I've always found the concept of Greedy Mine a great idea. A place where PvE and PvP mixes and the blends in together that only few selected guilds can enter. The access being granted through merit or luck. Sadly, the mines are left abandoned because the rewards there are just not worth the visit anymore. Bad honing oils, drop rates, outdated gears. Any thoughts on how to improve the situation and resurrect the map? Or will you leave it as is forever?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, the guild update stuff, we're going to be looking at... Did something fall from upstairs? Sorry, there's a noise above us. We'll be looking at housing. Right now, there's a lot of questions about housing, and we know that when it rolled out, it was very confusing, and Gravity tried to fix some stuff with it, and it just sort of, I don't think that ever kind of met what they wanted from it. So on the back end, it's super complicated. It's one of those things I mentioned that looks like it's MacGyver together. So that would be something that would take us some time to do, but I think would be valuable for guilds after we get certain things out of the way. Like we want to get, PvP. We want to get stuff, new content to you guys, so that you can do stuff while we're tinkering with housing and updating it and doing that, so that every town hall isn't asking about new content. And so when that happens, we'll be looking at the mine and what else we can do there to have an incentive to go and do the mine and all that stuff. So yeah, that'll be next year, probably Q2. It's going to be after we do the PvP stuff. So.
All right. Again, good explanation. Lots of stuff. All right. These just get more complicated as we go, so I'm sorry, everyone. X8 asks, will you consider removing the monster defense rate and damage in Dark Whisper map, Forgotten Paeon map, and Jawai Wonderland map to make sure that people will invite any class for DPS roles rather than Crescentia being the only DPS class? Many players give up playing because of this.
Yeah, it's going to be part of the level redesign. I don't know specifically if we're going to be removing a monster defense rate. Well, not removing, but decreasing and doing all that kind of stuff. It'll be part of it. And yeah, definitely we want to make more classes relevant. So, yes.
I may have put a Leviathan in the middle of that, just for fun. So, just so you know, guys, there's a Leviathan sea god in the middle of Frontera, if you want to kill him. Alright, next. Add element system to the map mentioned above to further boost our DPS. Exclude the boss.
Yes. We'll have to see. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. So the biggest thing will be determining which monsters get which element. I do know that we had somebody that put together sort of a pretty comprehensive guide on how to do that. I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, but I think she knows who she is. So we'll be looking at that first, and then putting that in, and then depending on how difficult that is, probably when we roll through and address the leveling things there, we'll be adding and tweaking those monsters.
Sweet. All right. He also includes reduce the amount required in daily bind rune quests so that the player will be able to improve their character easily.
I think somebody mentioned this in our feedback forum, and I haven't been able to circle around and read that topic yet, but it may or may not be. I don't know. We can look at it. It's not a conversation I've had yet, so we'll see what we can do there, and if it's required, and we'll check out some data and do some research.
All right. So yeah, people are. So I haven't put the background live because we have the questions. So let's get these questions through. All right, next. Oh, increase the basic experience gain so that the new player able to keep up with the current gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Hell, recently we had a 1,000 EXP bonus.
We also learned that we can't currently go above that.
Oh.
So 1,000% EXP bonus, yeah, because we qualified above it, but we realized that it just would not allow us to go above it.
Oh. Well, I will say that I totally utilize that a lot.
There will be more EXP and sales and whatnot for December coming. So
Ooh, keep an eye out on that.
Not only Depara is EXP week, but we're planning something else.
Sweet. All right. Zereza asks, can you resurrect forgotten pay-on daily quests? Like, replace rewards with a good one, since Edgar's equipment can be obtained with MP and BP, or increase the EXP like July daily quests. I believe many players are struggling to get party because the only spots with high EXP are Edgar, Junior, and Pay-on Merchant. So daily quests can be an alternative to leveling. Yes.
So, backstory on those daily quests. We can add new rewards in. When Forgotten Pay-on... I'm going all over the place. When Forgotten Pay-on was first being designed, they actually didn't have any quests for it. I don't know what the reason was, but I went to them and asked them, hey, if I write a whole bunch of quests, could we put them in quickly? And they're like, you can try. And so, like, in 2 days or something like that, I wrote all the quests for Forgotten Pay-on. And initially, they had a lot more rewards, and they had EXP values that were more considerable. That I kind of sketched out and figured, like, oh, so I'm going to go through the 5 levels within 10 days. Or I don't know however long I set them. It was a lot more. And they ran with the quest, but didn't do the EXP and didn't do all the rewards. So we can go back and kind of see what we can add in there to boost the EXP stuff. That's going to be part of the whole checking out national level zones and figuring out what we can do with that. And then new rewards. If you have ideas for new rewards, not only for this, but for anything, post about it. Like, that's something that we like to hear about, because we know about all the items, but knowing what people really like, obviously we know that, we're not going to give out stacks of Infinium and stuff like that, but we know that if we give you stacks of Polinium, then there will be a riot. So if you have ideas, just let us know about that. Post it on the forums, PM us, I don't know, send us a telegram, anyhow.
Cool. Also, if you're hearing screaming, that's because they were asking for a new boss, and I decided to put Edgar. So, yes. All right, so the next set of questions look more like it was kind of suggestions. So, not quite any questions really put forth, but this is by Q Danfield, who asks, or I guess suggests, and this is in 3 parts, so I don't have them all I have them all listed, but they're a little weird. So, hello.
So these look like they want to update either existing buffs or add new existing buffs to it, and they're adding different tiers, it looks like.
Yeah, like suggestions for these buffs. So I think
this is actually, I'll have to get a little bit more context from the user about where they mean and what they mean, but the way that they laid this out, if you see the town hall topic on the forum, is actually really well done. Like laying out what you want and that sort of thing. Like we can look at and we'll be like, oh, maybe we can change this or maybe we can add this, and sort of like laying out what you mean for each tier is pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, the great suggestions. Not much really can say clearly, because obviously we require going in and kind of testing and looking at.
Right. But in most of it, it's not really questions. It's more like, hey, here's ideas and here's what you could do for each tier.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
So Q Danfield,
good job.
Cool ideas. We like it. Keep it up. Feel free to share more. Mr. X-Ray asks, why are there no buttons or items to destroy a siege weapon?
So that's something we're going to be looking into with this guild skill to control siege weaponry. I mentioned earlier we're going to look into a way that people could destroy their own siege so that they can kind of strategize and put them wherever they want, as well as possibly looking into a self-destruct for incomplete siege, because we do know that they're often stacked, and a lot of them in certain areas for various reasons, and so it clogs up the map and it causes frame rate issues and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't really ever the intent, I think, by the original designers to have a bunch of incomplete siege weaponry just stacked. Like.
All right, so the next question, it actually had a huge suggestion. I didn't put that all on here, otherwise this entire screen would just be covered in words. But the basic question was, for the VCR program, before you join to become a VCR, please put a voting system for all players in the game for the sake of the players, because some players will not voice out.
So I don't know what I did with my notes, but regarding this, when we first did the VCR program, we had something like that where they had to be nominated and then voted on to be accepted in. And what happens is you have a bunch of people voted in by popular guilds because they're part of that popular guild, and they're probably voted in because that popular guild wants their particular perspective brought in, which isn't necessarily bad. But you lose out on people that are really good content creators, really good event planners, and people like that don't have a popular guild to support them. I can name 5 people off the top of my head that are part of our VCR program that are invaluable people that have brought ideas to the table and help with organization and all sorts of things that we probably wouldn't get if it was required to have 8 or 10 or whatever votes to vote somebody in. At the same time, that there's people that are part of really popular guilds that get in, and it's very obvious that they're trying to either just relay information back to their guild, they're trying to sort of manipulate the system, either the program itself, or trying to sway us. Most of the time, it comes from people trying to PM me privately, and I'll ask them to go and discuss these things as a VCR group or go talk to players about it. Those things are very obvious to us. So we avoid trying to do that. Like recently, a player suggested that we should only allow VCRs in that are part of a guild that have at least 80 master level 40s, or we should only allow 3 people in from each guild. Well, you can obviously see how that can be manipulated. You could just change guilds or make your own guild or what have you to apply. And what happens is you just have a minority of players, and you end up having an elite group of players, and it's more biased, and it's more, you don't get as many different opinions and different ideas from different people. Right now, we have almost 60 VCRs. We cover 12 different time zones with our VCRs. And if we shrunk that down to just 10 different VCRs, then we'll have a problem with very few voices trying to be representative of other players. And so I think when we change the program to welcome more people in, sure, we got some people that are troublemakers or people that come in only because they want to leak what's being talked about. We tell our VCRs that anything that we're talking about is obviously we're not going to have them sign an NDA or anything like that. They can go and tell other people, but we do ask that they sort of relay it in a context that anything that's being discussed, may not even happen. It may just be a conversation that you have with other VCRs. It may just be an idea a VCR comes up with. It still needs to go past the filter that's me, that's Warp Portal, that's, if it's possible, and all that kind of stuff. And we're pretty hard filters to get past.
Yeah, Eden does say, I like the idea that anyone who wants to help can join and be a part of the discussion. And I have to agree with that, because as much as having a hardcore player sounds like a good idea, we also want new players. And if there's something that the hardcore player just isn't seeing because they haven't played that content in years, you're just, it's going to be kind of written off. So when you have someone who's maybe only been playing for the first month and they're really confused and they're looking at this, that's kind of a problem that we need to look at. Is this really that convoluted that we don't understand? That having those different opinions help. And I guess a great example of how things just saying only certain people, there's a reason why I have the Warp Portal staff vote on all of our stuff, because we had problems where guilds would get together and they would vote for their friend, and it was like only certain people would win constantly, and it got a muddled mess.
Yeah. That's why we accept people in, and we have a policy. We have a pretty generic or vague policy that's don't be a jerk. And so we had somebody recently that had to be removed because we found out they were using an alt forum account to kind of trash talk other VCRs and what have you. in the program. And so we found out about that. One of our CMs talked to the person. They claimed it was their brother. So we gave him one warning, and then we found out later that that same person was going into the game, as a VCR, and then just continues the trash talk and was talking in another language. We have a lot of people on staff that speak various languages, so speaking in another language, unless it's one that you've made up yourself, probably not going to be really great for you. So we had to remove that person because that violates our don't be a jerk policy, and we don't want our VCRs to be unapproachable by players.
And yeah, just because a VCR brings it up doesn't mean it's happening in game. Keep in mind that no matter what's said, the producer has to go through that and has to look at that. So, moving on though, because another question. The VCR program, is there any PvE players in your team and PvP?
Yeah, both. We have people that do PvE. We have people from PvP from all the WoW guilds, from people that just casually PvP. We have people in there that just want to do event planning. We have people that just want to write new quests and content because they like the story of the game. All walks. Like when you have almost 60 people now, they're coming from all different perspectives. So, yep.
Yep. All right. And I believe this is the last question. Is it possible to make a new trivia bot?
So we've talked in the past with the person that runs the trivia bot, or ran the trivia bot, rest in peace, about bringing it in-house. And I think that sort of got shelved because they were running it and we would have to find some hardware and stuff like that in order to run it ourselves and how we would do it. But now that it's gone, we can probably revisit that with them if they're willing to see if we can run it and what it would take to run it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Alright, so we are literally at the very end. So if anyone has any questions, I know some people were asking questions throughout this event. I was trying to get through all of the questions that we already had because everyone had been waiting at least 2 weeks. Let's see. If you have any questions now, quickly say them. We literally have 2 minutes.
I'm going to say, as they're asking questions, we're going to start a new thing on Mondays, I believe, that we're going to mirror with what RO1 does and Campador does with RO1, in that we're going to do he does this thing called Good Morning Posts, where he kind of goes over what's going on in RO1 every Monday morning, and it provides sort of a topic for people to submit their questions and things like that. We're going to do something similar with RO2. I haven't decided if it's going to be called Good Morning or if we're going to call it something else. But I'm going to post something Monday morning that kind of updates you on what's going to be happening that week, but also what we're working on and what we're developing, because we develop RO2 and kind of keep people apprised about like what's going on and give them that exposure that otherwise maybe they wouldn't get unless until the town halls, or if they're VCR or what have you. And then it allows you to submit your questions, and then when we have the maintenance and we have a downtime, while I'm waiting for certain updates and things to run, I can go through there and answer your questions.
Alright, so is it possible to add option to disable glow of weapons BUP to lessen the lag?
That was an idea from a while back. We can actually look at it. I know that our team is looking at optimization options, but more like back-end stuff that you wouldn't see. Option to disable, we can check out.
Awesome. MD Magic is asking, when is the EXP back?
So next week will be the December Happy Hour boxes, and the week after will be the Depara EXP boost.
Alright. The Lethian, I can't stop. What is the second anniversary box will be released again?
Well, we can't have a second anniversary again, unless you have a time machine. But I did hear people wanting some items from those boxes. So we're looking at how we can kind of trickle those into the game normally. But let us know what items out of those specifically you want. Unless that's the card one I'm thinking of. I can't remember.
Gia's actually suggesting we need more cards. Epic cards.
Okay. Yeah, we're looking at that.
Cool. Okay, so when is yep, alright, so Nora's nice notice notes.
I like that. It's gonna make people swallow their tongues trying to pronounce it or trying to read.
It's better than Arby's acronym. What the? Okay.
Yeah, for his weekend event.
Awesome. Alright, so any more questions? We have 1 more minute. So as you can see, I went ahead and I brought up the thing. This is where we're standing in channel 1. I've been kind of taking screenshots of everybody as they've been hanging out. So, if you want a quick screenshot or hang out, feel free. Apparently right now I'm a pig. A little piggy.
Eden says if you get 2 second anniversary boxes, it's like a 4th year anniversary.
Is that what that is?
I think so.
Is that how it goes?
No more than 2 though, or else we're time traveling.
Will there be a Nerf for Crest class?
Nothing planned.
Okay, when can we put... Oh.
Auras on costumes, we're looking... We don't know yet, but it wouldn't be in December.
And don't worry, I will find the code for Santa pourings, because I demand Santa pourings. Just not at the moment.
I think there's a Santa pouring daily quest in the Yule Festival that's coming out next week, so there will be a Santa pouring.
Yes! Alrighty, so it is 6 o'clock. That is all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. This has been the Town Hall meeting. We have these last Thursday of every month. If we can't make it that Thursday, usually it's the following Thursday after that. So whenever we're here. So, get your questions ready. Be prepared. Go ahead and look out for Nor's Monday notes. Mm-hmm. And thank you for joining us. I'm Zian Veritas. This is...
I'm Njoror.
And this has been the Town Hall meeting, December 1st. Join us next time. Bye.